Kia ora. My name is Charlie Burns, and today I will be sharing with you the road to glory for the Christ College Junior A basketball team. Within this podcast, I have interviewed Mr. Dixon, head of basketball, Josh Shanahan, co-captain of the team, and Tom Higgins. This team has been made up by Year 10 students who have a past history of basketball, but with most of them never having played in a Junior A team. The trialling process itself happened in the Term 1 holiday break. Here is the head of basketball, Mr. Dixon, speaking about what the trialling process looked like.
So it was interesting this year to do the selection for Junior A. We had our top 12 players on the Tuesday night, and then we split the teams across on the Saturday. And I thought this was a good idea on paper, and then rapidly I changed my mind in the first few games of the season, in both the Saturdays and the Tuesdays. We didn't seem to be playing very well on Tuesdays because we weren't gelling, and then on Saturdays we were getting beaten by a lot. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've made a terrible mistake here. And I do think it probably isn't something we'll do again, but it might have actually benefited us through the course of the season. So in the beginning, I thought we were underperforming. So before we had any games, I thought we'd have a really good chance of winning. And then soon I thought, oh no, we're underperforming here. This is an issue. But as the Tuesday night players gelled more and had more games together, they got better. It actually looked like separating our top 12 on the Saturdays was beneficial to those players because you weren't competing with each other for minutes. You got to become leaders in your separate teams and you got to develop your skills respectively. And then so I think we had a real just growth towards the end of the season when all of that came together and everyone played really, really well and the system kind of gelled.
This was the first season that the Grocott League had been implemented, so every team was on a level playing field and everyone wanted to win. Before the season started, the team organised to play St Andrews College in a pre-season game to get a feel for the competition. Here's what Coach Higgins had to say. I felt happy after the pre-season game as we got the win. However, it was early days and both teams had a lot of improving to do. My plan was to try and make the boys as confident as possible. I had been saying all year, if you're open, shoot it. If you have a layup, take it. I would never pull you out for missing a shot. I think in the final 2 games of the year, that confidence shone through as the boys hit some really big shots in the big moments. This preseason game will be the first of many tight games to come for the team. I spoke with the co-captain, Josh Shanahan, regarding his thoughts on the team near the start of the season.
I felt confident in the group we had because not only did we have some skill there, but we also had a bunch of boys that were sporty and exceeded other sports, which meant they'd be able to pick stuff up quickly. So we had a good balance of talent, but also hard work, and I knew that this group of boys could get it done. And as the season went on, I just got more and more confident as we developed our skills as a team and saw everything really come together, and that reflected in the final.
As you heard, Josh was confident in the abilities of the team to perform to a high level. As the team trainings upgraded in intensity, they drew closer to the quarterfinals. They got blessed with an easy matchup with a team they had previously played, Kaiapoi High School. This game proved to be a breezy one with the centre Luca Kenny getting his first in-game dunk. The college team had a tough matchup against Kashmir High for the semi-finals. After being down 10 points in the fourth quarter, College made a comeback and tied the game, sending it into overtime. The team's elite defense and teamwork helped them secure the win. This victory was a remarkable achievement as they had lost to Kashmir twice in the regular season. It boosted their confidence and solidified their position as a top contender in the tournament. They were now in the final, being played at Cal Stadium, the home of the Canterbury Rams. This will be the game that makes or breaks the Junior A success story.
Yeah, I remember walking in, and we were the first ones there. We were there before Hill Morton, and they were still setting up the sponsorship banners and whatnot, and that's when it really started to become real. But we had a good 45 minutes to get shots up, so we got used to the rims because none of us had played on them before.
The game started off with Hill Morton taking an early lead, and the score by the end of the first quarter reflected that, with Hill Morton being up 23-28. With a new game plan and fresh ideas being injected into the college team, they strode back out onto the court for the second quarter. Throughout the quarter, the Hill Morton team proved to be the better shooters as they increased their lead by 5 points. Starting the third quarter, College came out of the huddle down by 10 and were just trying to make their way back into the game With a few inside points from Archie Nejar and Josh Shanahan, the boys cut the lead down to just 4 points. As the college team stepped back onto the court for the final quarter, they had a renewed sense of nothing to lose. They came out of the break and blitzed Hemording, scoring 6 consecutive points to tie the game up. With the regulation time ticking down, Hemording managed to score 1 point to tie the game, forcing into overtime. Overtime is really where the college team got it done, with the final score being 88-85. Here is what Josh had to say.
So we really fought hard and to get to overtime in the first place. So we had the momentum. So we kind of just played off that and just kept doing what we had been doing in the second half because it was working, and I felt confident going into overtime because I think we had adjusted more in the game than they had. So we knew what we were doing more so than them.
Thank you all for listening into my small insight into the Junior A's road to glory.
Hello, I'm Lewis Devine Smith. In my audio package, I delve into New Zealand's transition into a cashless society. I interviewed the public of Christchurch, as well as a financial advisor from Sorted and shop owners and workers.
To start, I talked with the public in central Christchurch to hear their views on the matter. Here's what they had to say.
Do you think it's a positive thing that New Zealand is turning into a cashless society?
No, absolutely not. I think we need cash so that women can escape domestic violence situations.
Do you think it's a positive thing that New Zealand is turning into a cashless society?
Yes, in general, I think it probably is.
Where shops are stopping cash and only accepting card, is it affecting you in any way?
It is. I do not have a card. Therefore, I will not be shopping there.
Here are some snippets from my recent interview with Tom Hartman, a personal finance manager at Sorted, a company created by the Retirement Commission. What are some disadvantages of using cards or electronic payments instead of cash?
The cons are our brains actually work differently when we're spending with cash than when we're spending with cards, for example. And I'll try to explain that just really quickly. So if you think, just to simplify it, if you think like when you have cash in your hand and you're about to pay for something, there's a trade-off between the pain of letting go of the cash and the pleasure of whatever it is you're getting. And that's how you decide whether it's worth it, right? So you don't really want to let go of the money you have. But if it's for something good, like in a store, if you're really hungry or you're buying something really cool, then you will, let go of that cash and you'll think, oh, this is a good deal. Now, if you think about when you use a card, like a debit card or a credit card or something like that, there's none of that trade-off. So it's harder to make a decision. All you do is you swipe and then you get the thing. And so it's all pleasure. There's not the pain of letting go of money. It catches up with you afterwards. If somebody's using a credit card or something like that, it might be at the end of the month and they see, oh, look at all this stuff I've spent money on. Or if it's a debit account, you go look at your balance later and you're like, oh, what did I spend money on? So it very easily goes out. Like, it's harder to hold on to money. So those are the pros and cons with.
Are there any noticeable differences in the financial behaviour from different age groups or regions in response to the particle transition into cashless payments?
On this one, we don't have enough data really to answer properly in terms of ages and regions. But one thing we do see is the rise of buy now, pay later payments, things like Afterpay and Lay-By and Zip. And so what people are doing there is they're actually paying for something part of the way, partly up front. They get the item, and then they basically owe a company 3 or 5 more payments. And if you're not familiar with that, that's definitely something recent and different that's been happening. And that's okay because if they're used right, they shouldn't have fees or interest. it's a cheaper way of borrowing. But what's happening if people take out too many of those, they get themselves into trouble, particularly if they start using them for everyday things. And so they end up basically spiraling into debt, unfortunately.
I also interviewed dairy store owners to gauge their opinions on whether eliminating cash would enhance safety for both the stores and their employees. Here's what they said. Would removing cash from New Zealand make dairy owners and the dairies safer?
Probably not, because people are still stealing the things, they're robbing the money. So most of the time we get threatened by the people stealing the things, not the money.
Do you think that the decline in cash usage could help reduce crime at dairies and stores in New Zealand?
Not necessarily, because some people still comfortable using cash. So, and sometimes your card is been, got stolen, or if you don't have data in your phone, or phone battery is not working, or in any of those sort of scenario, person would be helpless. So, as a other alternative, it's okay to use cash.
Just a significant change in the way customers pay for the purchases in recent years, with more reliance on digital payments.
Yes, lately I've been seeing them more and more customer paying by appos or by phone.
Yeah.
It is definitely decreasing using cash, but there are still plenty of people using cash. A lot of old people are still comfortable using cash.
From the interviews, it can be concluded that opinions are mixed. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to Christ College Radio. My name's Dylan. Today we're going to be talking about tall poppy syndrome. We will be interviewing professional sportsmen, including Christ College's own Tony O'Connor. But first, what is tall poppy syndrome? Tall poppy syndrome is a phenomenon in New Zealand and Australia when someone is successful, people will criticise them and try to pull them down. Now we will interview Tian Welton, 100-metre sprinter for New Zealand and Canterbury. He is currently national champion in the 100-metre and third fastest man in New Zealand history with a time of 10.14 seconds, ranking him 60th in the world over the distance. He has recently just competed at the World Championships in Budapest. Firstly, we will ask Tian if he has experienced tall poppy syndrome himself.
It's something I've noticed is quite prevalent in New Zealand, actually. I've lived in 3 countries now. I lived in South Africa and in England as well, and all 3 countries competed in at a decently high level. And I will say it's something I've probably experienced more here than I have anywhere else. And now whether that's because it's more prevalent here or because maybe I'm just at a higher level here than I was anywhere else, I can't tell you. But it is something I've definitely noticed in New Zealand for sure.
Experience more as you were coming up to the level that you are, or now that you're at a reasonably high level and sort of... Do you think you experience
I think it's more once you get to the level, that's when you're going to get it the most. I think it's, New Zealand is a small country. There's not much to go around. And so I think it makes everything quite competitive, whether that's sport or, positions in the workplace. It just makes it less competitive. There's less to go around. So I think once you get to the top, that quite often means that someone else is not at the top, or you can get to a certain support level, and that's just going to mean that someone else is not getting that support. So maybe that's why it's more prevalent here. It could be a thing, but it's definitely something I've noticed more and more as I've gotten higher and higher in the sport. And I do think it's more so now that I'm at this level than it was on the way coming up. Because when you're coming up, I think everyone cheers along for you when you're on the way thing. But it's definitely something I've noticed.
Have you noticed that it's quite a Kiwi thing to do this, or did you experience it in other countries as well?
Definitely, yeah. I like I said, probably more so here than I have anywhere else. Can't say if that's just because I'm more successful here than I have been in other countries. But, both the other countries I lived in, South Africa and England, big countries. There's lots of people, there's lots of money going around. There's lots of stuff to do.
if you're getting up to a certain spot, there's going to be another spot just like that. So here, being New Zealand, small population, small country, there's not a lot going around, and I think that's what makes it so competitive. So, for me, like I said, to get to a certain level of support where, okay, now I've run quick enough, now I'm getting a little bit of money from Athletics New Zealand. Other people might look at that and go, damn, he's getting a little bit of money that Athletics New Zealand have, and now it's not ending up at me because it might just not be enough to go around. So I think definitely more prevalent in New Zealand than I think in other countries, but that's just how I've experienced it.
And lastly, how have you dealt with it?
Well, the best way to deal with it is just to not give it any attention, I think. I think when people are trying to bring you down and you show them that it's affecting and you show them that it's bothering you, then they're succeeding, right? The best thing you can do is just show them that it really doesn't bother you. And I like to think, you deal with them the same way you would deal with bullies, like in school. Almost just be nice to them. There's nothing worse for a person that's sitting there and he's going, you don't deserve to be where you are, and, you're lucky to have made it toward champs or whatever, and say, I was pretty lucky, but it was pretty amazing. And this and that. And if they're trying to hate on you, it's probably because of deep down they've got some sort of insecurity themselves. I think there's a saying I heard that goes, you're never going to find someone hating on you that's actually doing better than you.
We were interviewing Tony O'Connor, former international rower for Ireland. He has competed at 2 Olympic Games, won 5 medals at the World Championships, and has won a gold in 2001, and in 2020 is a coach for the New Zealand Men's 8, and is now rowing coach and maths teacher at Christ College. And in 2020 is a coach for the New Zealand Men's 8, and is now rowing coach and maths teacher at Christ College.
We asked him his thoughts on the topic. Here's what he had to say.
Or rowing or calculus or whatever it is, they almost expect that person to be a bit cocky and, look at you, And most of them they're not. They're just pretty ordinary people who actually just do extraordinary things. But, when they open their mouth about anything, I have seen it so many times, people will go, oh yeah, you're just being a big head. And they're not actually. They're just voicing their opinion. Just remove their athletic ability from the equation, and you find that most people are actually just saying what they believe. But I've seen it. I've seen it the world over. It's almost like people expect top sports people to be the absolute opposite of arrogant and show off, and be actually far too humble.
Yeah.
Which is rubbish. If you can't get up to their level, isn't it? You're going to drag them down to your level so you feel secure. You're dead right. I think that's exactly what it is. But then, that's that situation. But say, 2 months down the line, you do something really good and they don't. And then, do you reverse the situation? Are you going to accept them chopping you down as a tall puppy? You're not. You're going to say, don't be a dickhead. So, I think that's probably the core of the thing, isn't it? That it's an inability of people to, one, congratulate other people, but more importantly, admit that they're not as good as they like to be. I think once people get over that, then you eliminate the tall poppy thing immediately.
More of it as you were coming up, or once you got to a sustainable high level?
As was coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely as was coming up. It was almost like, how dare you? Who do you think you are? Whereas when you get to a good level, people are a lot more, oh, well done.
There's nothing they can do at that point.
There's nothing they can do. That's it. You have this sussed. You know what you're talking about. There's nothing they can do to stop your upward trajectory. So they accept it and put their hand out and say, well done. But what I do, I wrote this down the other day actually, because I was thinking about what you were going to ask me. People, so say after the Olympics, right, when we came back and the boys had won, people were shaking my hand, right, saying well done on the Olympics, and that was fine. But I can do without that. What really meant a lot was when people shook your hand and said well done on the journey, well done on going through all the shit and overcoming hurdles. That meant way much more than actually the outcome.
Some conflicting opinions there, but overall the census says that it is a negative thing that very affects New Zealand culture.
Hello, my name is Arthur Mears and today we will be investigating the Three Waters proposal. We will be interviewing a member of the public to hear their views, and Ben Scott, a local farmer and owner of Scott Fresh Company. Hope you enjoy. What is Three Waters? In mid-2017, following the government inquiry into Havelock North drinking water, the government established the Three Waters Review to look at how to improve the regulation and service delivery arrangements of drinking water, wastewater and stormwater. The Three Waters to better support New Zealand's environment. What this means is the proposal that Labour was going to have on New Zealand is that they will tax you for your water usage, and it will go back to the Māori and the government foundations. And today we will be here with Ben Scott. Let's see what he has to say. Hello Ben, we'd like to ask you some questions. Here's the first one.
Yep, that's fine.
Does Three Waters impact your way of farming if the proposal was put in place?
Because we're not a stock farm, our operation is a horticultural operation. It's not affected as badly as what a stock operation would be, because Three Waters doesn't have any impact on irrigation. Where it does have an impact would be around our housing and staff accommodation, which we've got quite a lot of. That's where it would have an impact, but not on the farming operation as such, I don't think.
Yes. What are your thoughts on the Three Waters proposal?
I think the biggest concern with Three Waters is it takes the control out of your local bodies, your local entities. So previously you'd have like the Kaikoura District Council or ECAN would be looking at water supply to housing and possibly just stock water and things as well. But it's now being controlled by a government body, and for that reason I don't think it's a particularly good idea. And for a business like ours, it means we've got to jump all sorts of hurdles that are created by people that are pretty far removed from the business or the area.
Yes. Now that the national government is in place, are you happy about them shutting it down? If so, why?
Yep, for those reasons that I'm for, absolutely. I think it's the right thing to do. I think putting it back in the hands of local councils is by far the best bet. And I think also ensuring that local councils continue to be run as they are democratically and not under some sort of co-governance scheme that was proposed for Three Waters. But if councils go to being managed through some sort of co-governance where it's not democratically elected, I'd have some concerns. But I certainly support national getting rid of it.
Yes. Would the water supply that you use on your farm be affected?
Yeah, only the supply that we're using for domestic water supply, so it would only be affecting things like staff rooms and also affecting accommodation, but it wouldn't be affecting the irrigation side of it. And for us, the irrigation side of it's key, so it doesn't have as big a effect for us as it does for other operations.
Yes. Thank you, Ben. Now we will move on to the interview that we did with the member of the public. Here's what she had to say. Now we will be going live with one of our top reporters, Mr. Jimmy Knight.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can we interview you about the Three Waters?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First question. First of all, what do you know about the Three Waters proposal?
Not a lot, except that I understand that council control of the water has been removed from them and given to the government in some way through 3 different entities. All I know is the council's really pissed off about it, yeah.
Sweet. When Three Waters was a topic and getting put through the process of becoming a real thing, what were your thoughts on the matter?
My thoughts on the matter, Christchurch traditionally has pretty good water and better water than other places in the country, and I guess I'm slightly concerned about all of the country's water being controlled from one place rather than the actual place where people live and can know more about it. So I was a bit concerned about it, but then I didn't know lots about it, so yeah.
Yeah. Do you think Three Waters would have affected your lifestyle in any way or any everyday activities you participate in?
Probably not, but there is that outside chance of the government ruining things, really. So, I mean, probably not, but there's an outside possibility of that, yes.
So to conclude, how do you feel about the National Party scrapping the Three Waters project?
I feel fine about it, actually, because I think that water should be in the hands of the people who are using it rather than one centralised body that's in Auckland and has no idea what Christchurch is doing with its water. So I'm happy for it to go back to the council.
Sweet, thank you.
In conclusion today, I hope we've educated you on the Three Waters proposal, even though it won't be going forward because of the change of governments. Thank you so much for listening to me and my co-host Jimmy Knight and everybody who participated in the interviews. Thank you. This was Christ College News.
Hi, I'm Munchi Jager, and today I'm presenting my investigation on the Christ College diploma. I interviewed two people. The first was Dr. Tom Hawkins, a housemaster and teacher here at Christ College. And the second was an international student named Gordon Logan from America. Here's what I found. What is the Christ College diploma for you?
From my perspective, it's a way of broadening the recognition of the non-academic, the more character-focused aspects of sort of learning and growing up as a year 10 and 11 student, so that by the time students get into year 12, they've had an experience of a wide variety of different sort of ways of learning and challenging themselves, and they're a little bit more rounded as individuals.
This is the part where Dr. Hawkins said something quite interesting about the Year 11 diploma system. And do you think it's better than the old system Christ College had for Year 10s and 11s?
I think year 10 certainly, it's better. There is more purpose to it in year 10.
Yeah.
It encourages boys to be a bit more organised with what they do, how they do it. It's encouraging them to get involved in Duke of Edinburgh earlier, which is a good thing. Year 11, I think there's still work to be done in terms of getting the academics set up so that it's preparing them for the seriousness of level 2.
Yeah.
I think the year 11 academic courses can be, I think, probably be made a little bit more challenging, and I think there's still some work to be done designing how learning progressions work and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think certainly for year 10 it's an improvement. For year 11 it's probably an improvement, given that it's still encouraging you guys to have a slightly broader mind of what success looks like at school than just schoolwork.
Yeah. People somewhat understand the like idea behind the diploma, but how do you think it shows progression in itself?
How do you mean?
Because of course, some people will do multiple hours in Duke of Edinburgh and fill that in, and they'll get silver diploma if you get bronze in 3 different things. But then some people can just fill in a form and say that they were a captain of a say a water polo team, and you can get character and leadership.
Yeah, so I think that there is still some work to be done in standardising what counts as silver and gold for different levels, different areas of the diploma. I think to get silver in character and leadership might be a lot easier than to get silver in community and service, for example.
Yeah.
In terms of the hours put in, and the fact that if you're captain of a sport, you're probably just having a great time doing that sport.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're trying to get gold in community and service, you might not be having a great time doing the litter picking, right, or the tree planting. So I kind of agree. I think there's a bit of a non-equivalence across different areas of the diploma.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember it's only a year old.
Yeah.
And as a staff on college, we're kind of, the plane is flying, most of it's built, but we're still kind of screwing little bits on and tightening little bits up here and there. And it's still a work in progress.
Next, I interviewed Gordon Logan, an international student from Denver, Colorado, America, to see his perspective on the Christ College diploma system compared to past schooling.
I'm pretty invested in academics, I'd say, so. Yeah.
Have you enjoyed Christ College so far?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Being aboard it makes me a lot more engaged with the school, and I'm always here, and my mind's always on the school, so yeah, I've had a good experience.
And what do you think about the diploma system that Christ College has employed?
I didn't know what it was before the diploma system, but it seems like the diploma system is working. I'd say it's decently well planned out.
Yeah.
I just feel, I think it's going pretty well.
When you came into Christ College from America, did you expect this? Was it different from your school in America?
Yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, obviously the class sizes are a lot smaller and teachers are more engaged.
So it is quite different from your schools in America?
Yeah, it's different. Plus, I'm boarding here and far away from my family, and it's different. Yeah.
And how effective do you think the diploma will be for like university in the future?
It might be quite important because there's different aspects of service and jobs that you might have to do. I don't know. It could. I don't know how it would be for university. I'm not really at that level yet. But we also still have to go through NCAA level 2 and 3, and I think that would be more useful.
Great. Thank you, Gordon. In the end, I found that the diploma in Year 10 is quite effective for the engagement of service, but in Year 11, diploma could use some work preparing the Year 11s for NCAA Level 2. This was Munchi Jager on the Christ College diploma. Boom!